would entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda, please.
I will so move.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have first and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Very much. Looking for an approval of the consent agenda, please.
I would move there as well.
And do I have a second? Second. Very good. All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move right to the staff agenda items. City Engineer Brad Reefsteck is going to talk to us about consideration of the 2019 special road projects. Brad, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, I'm looking for a discussion on the 2019 special roads project. The budget for the special roads project in 2019 is of roughly $77,000 now. Many of you know in the years past we've done some patching, we've done some seal coating, we've done some overlays, we've done some culvert work, we've done some guardrails, and some drainage improvements. So those would be all good candidates for the special roads project. Now, staff has gathered a few listed projects here for you on the memo. The first one is to repair a subgrade for 110th Street. We've had some issues this spring with some frost boils, and so we would like to take care of some of those issues. The second project that we have listed here is seal coating of Kimbrough Avenue. This project would be from 75th Street all the way to Delwood. We also have some crack filling of streets that we've identified through our pavement study that we did 2 or 3 years ago that we could use some of this money to do some crack filling, and we would like to get that done. We also have listed here some drainage and culvert improvements on 99th Street, Court and Lane, and then also some road restriction signs, load limit signs on our streets and Grant. So I guess with that, I would open the discussion up to council and answer any questions that you may have.
Gentlemen? Tom?
Well, on our special, Kim sent me the budget. So the special road projects, we really have, Sharon could correct me, something like 200,000 total in there. Is that correct?
Sharon, can you step up, or Kim, do you want to answer Tom's question?
Or Kim can?
Mayor and council members, on your 2019 approved budget, it is 208,000, but we reserve the funds for the putting in the guardrail out on Jocelyn.
Right.
So that is minus some dollars, minus also some the seal coat from last year. I've got that we're at about 163,000.
Yeah, I just for the record, because in our budget, if somebody was going to look, they say, well, you don't have 77,000, you've got 200 and some thousand. So roughly then we have 160,000 to actually spend, because we have some carryover. We're buying down we're spending a little our reserves, correct, Sharon, based on your best judgment on that. That we're still good on, wasn't that correct?
Right, we were going to spend down $73,000 of our reserves.
Okay, so total then we got about 160.
Right.
Okay.
Right, but we also have a line item for crack fill and seal coat.
Okay.
A separate line item, and so I'm assuming these are in addition to the ones that we already had budgeted to do.
That are scheduled.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
that are on the schedule, and these were identified through the road study.
Right, so these will be more than what we have. Okay, I'm just so everybody understands what we're talking about. Okay.
Makes sense.
And then this does not include any monies that we may get. Are we going to get any money at all from, remember the money we're getting from the state? Jeff's shaking his head no. So that's all, that's not going to happen. Okay.
No,
okay,
that's
just
not.
making sure.
And that was, if I may interrupt just for a second,
Sure.
Sharon and I had talked about this earlier. The state, once again, has adjourned their legislative season without funding any aid to small cities like ourselves. So no gas tax and no aid to small cities like ourselves.
Right.
Right, and no LGA,
And no LG.
Which makes
local
it
government aid.
local government, which makes it very important when the census comes up that we get everybody out there to be counted, because we
Right.
get to 5,000, we're getting $250,000 a year.
Right.
So that's very important. Okay. So that being said, the only other thing I didn't see on here, and I know we said one day we'd get to it if we had enough money and we didn't have a more serious, thank you, Sharon, more serious issue is I don't see the rest of Keats, to finish Keats. The question I would have on Keats, the rest of Keats, is what is the cost benefit to that? I'm not sure how bad that is, the last section. And if it's worth it to do it now. Before, I didn't want to do it because we had other more important projects like the guardrail and some things. So I would just throw that out there to add it to our list, to not forget about it. And if it's possible, we can do it and it's a cost benefit, then we'll do it. If it's not, then we won't. Does that make sense? It was, I mean, we haven't finished it.
Yeah, so I think the last section that we did was around $40,000. So we originally, I think we were breaking that up into thirds, and we've done 2/3 of it. And I don't know that the road that hasn't been overlaid yet is any worse or any better than it was, or the other two, better than the other two sections. So it certainly would be a good candidate.
We are talking Keats north from 36, correct?
Yep, so it would be north of 60, I think we just stopped short of 65th Street, so it would be 65th up to where Keats turns to gravel.
We're going to need, and let me interrupt you here, we're going to need a council discussion on that in a lot more depth before we do that. That is not going to be added, in my opinion, to a special roads project. We had talked about that before in terms of assessments, not just doing it. We had some long talks on that. Kim?
Mayor and council members, and for the new council members, I will just note there was, when the third section, when there was the potential of doing that third section, there was a lot of discussion, and from what I recall from that section, the reason the two sections were done is because they were underwater. There was water corroding those sections.
The paving of Keats.
Yes, okay. And when those two sections were done, that problem was eliminated. The rest of the section does not have that water issue.
Oh, okay, just good memory.
Yeah. That was under the rubric of a special roads project, the same way that Jamaica Avenue North would be, or South would be, coming down the hill. As everyone knows, as you come down the hill to 75th, we were having a number of washout issues there. So the water was accelerating, washing out the gravel there quite badly at the bottom, and was making it quite hazardous. So that was considered a special roads project in order to, just like a guardrail, or in order to enhance safety on that type of a natural problem, if you will. Same with Keats at that time, is we were having some pretty serious water issues on that stretch of street, and we both improved the drainage and did some overlay there. That third section, should my memory serve me, and I think it does quite well, we had some very long discussions on that not falling under a special roads type project, but instead would fall under our normal roads improvement process, where the neighbors would come forth with a petition to have that done. So that's something we'd have to definitely have some discussion on. Brad, as long as I have the floor here, the additional crack filling and the seal coating on these streets here, what is the reason for that? And we're calling this a special roads project. Can you give me sort of the thinking behind that? Why have we classified it that way?
Well, typically what we would do is we would crack fill any street that had cracks every 15 or 20 feet to fill the cracks before, or so the water wouldn't, penetrate the road underlaying base and gravel and through frost or through the freeze-thaw cycle, if you get water in those cracks, it's going to break up the road a lot quicker. So it's preventative medicine.
Right. So these particular roads you've identified then as particularly valuable to get to kind of step out of the normal process and the normal scheduling system that we have in place here in order to do this work, because you see great potential for us to save money if we do this work now on these streets.
Correct.
Is that a fair characterization of that?
Yep, correct.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting to, that normally they stay within that schedule, and if you're asking us to step outside that schedule, there must have been a good reason for it, and I think you've identified that well. The subgrade on 110th, I don't know if any of the other council have driven that this spring. Clients did a great job on it, but that was a mess. And Tom, you remember some of those we've had before.
We've had boils.
By Jeff's house, a great big frost boiler that we had fixed before, and some other ones. The end of Joliet, Steve had helped us with that one, and Brad had worked on that one. So that sounds great. Brad, just a little more detail, not a lot, just a little detail on the culvert at 99th Street Court Lane, please.
I think this is something that Kim had brought up, and I don't know too many of the details about this, but I think it's either a blocked culvert or a culvert that's damaged that needs to be replaced, and so.
Mayor and council members, it's another water issue on the road.
Okay, good enough. I mean, and if there's a water issue, that's the number one thing we want taken care of. Yeah, we got to get on that. And then the road restriction signs, we've talked about this, we've discussed this before, if memory serves, in work sessions. Right now, we have very few signs warning, or at least pointing out the fact that there are road restrictions at certain times of the year. It makes it impossible
To enforce.
for our deputies to enforce if there's no sign there. So if there's a sign warning of it, at least our deputies can pull a truck over and say, look, you know, that's not allowed at this time of the year. So any other input on that particular?
I don't think so.
Okay. Tom, Denny, Jeff, any other questions that you have here?
Tom?
Yeah, I mean, and not to belabor the point, but two things. One, I don't have any numbers for this stuff.
Mayor and council members,
Yeah,
I
go
will
ahead.
interject. The point wasn't to have numbers. The point was for you to direct staff to get numbers.
No, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But going back to Kimbrough or Keith, excuse me, Jeff, but I do remember having conversations about that, and I don't remember anything talking about that would be part of a special roads project. What I do remember is Mr. Reed was here, and a lot of people were thinking we should finish it, and I said no because of the fact that we had more important safety issues. I don't remember anything, so I'd have to revisit that. But if we have enough money left, I think we should just finish it, because I think we talked about finishing it, we just put it off because we have more important. So if, let's just see how much money's here, let's double check what we talked about on Keats, and be done with that if we can.
Yeah.
If not Keats, then McCusick, Jeff, were you working on something with that? Was there some money coming, or what was going on with that?
Yeah, we reached out to several sources for grants on that. We had actually applied for grants on that. Unfortunately, did not get grants on that. I know that the neighbors on McCusick have absolutely no interest and have expressed that multiple times in being part of a road improvement project on that one. So not sure. That's something we can certainly bring up in our budgeting process that we get into in August. But at this point, I'd kind of like to get the staff investigating these so we can get a cost on these.
No, I understand that, but what
Yeah.
I'm trying to get at and to look at forward thinking, depending on what that cost is, as long as we have some council time, we can talk about it. I'd like to find out what the council thinks on these other projects, if we have extra money. I'm not a fan of letting it sit in the bank if we can put it on the streets. So that's my thought. And one other thing before, if I could, I know the neighbors aren't interested in doing anything, but that road's costing us quite a bit to patch and keep patching and keep patching. So if we have extra money and we don't have another way to spend it, which is fine, then, and if we're not going to do Keats, I'd say we come in from each end and at least do some grading or some overlaying on a couple of these, start on the ends and just go as far as we can to do some overlaying or the middle, just on the worst parts of that road to keep our pothole patching costs down if we have extra money. That's all.
Okay. Well, we can certainly, like I say, we can have those discussions. Go ahead, Danny, sorry.
No, I was going to say, well, if I was going to prioritize what we're looking on here, I'd start it easy. I'd say the road restriction signs are number one, because that's got to be inexpensive.
Yep.
The culvert's got to be fixed. I'd make that number two. I think the frost boils continue to be a problem. I'd go number three there. And the other two, I don't have a ton of opinion on.
Okay. Well, let's do this first. We're not really here to rank these per se. What we're here to do is empower Brad to go out and investigate what it's going to cost us to fix these. He's going to come back to us and say, well, you can have all 5 of them. You don't even need to rank them. But if he comes back and says, well, it's over, then we
Then
have
we
that
worry about
additional
that.
money that we could allocate additional money at this point. But these are the projects that we've identified at this point. So what I would do if we're done with questions on this one is ask for council consensus to move forward on this.
But Brad has some idea what these run.
Well, let's ask him.
What do you think? I mean, we just.
Just ballparking, I would say $100,000 probably
For the whole
for
thing.
the 5 listed here.
Okay.
So we got 60 grand we can do something with. And the only thing I was bringing up was the fact that let's talk about, just think about, before we do our next meeting, what we think is best for that. And you got a couple ideas from me.
Okay.
So if you think about that.
Sounds good. What are we looking for on this, Kim? Do you want just the council consensus on this, or?
Just consensus to get pricing.
Okay, Jeff, you're okay with moving this across to Brad for
Yes, sir.
price exploration, and I am as well. Denny?
Yep.
Yep.
And Tom as well. Very good. Brad, let us know.
All right.
All right, thanks. Moving forward, we do not have a planner here tonight, lucky Jennifer. Mr. Schneider is attending with us tonight, but he has no action items. I'm going to call on Sharon, our auditor, to talk to us about accepting our 2018 audit. Thank you, Sharon.
You are welcome, and I'm actually the treasurer and reporting on the audit.
Thank you.
And the purpose of the action item tonight is to accept the audit. You guys can have questions. It's not going to change the audit result itself. We need to accept it. This is just saying we accept the results from our auditors, and we need to do it tonight so that by June 30th we can send it into the state auditor according to state law. And with that, I will ask if there are any questions. Yes, Tom.
Any issues?
Really, no new issues. No new issues.
I think we've had the same types of control issues that a city this size has every time it's audited. Other organizations that I look over their auditing on with small staffs have very, very similar problems, or not even problems. They're just issues that are pointed out by the auditing staff because there isn't enough staff to do the job they wish could be done. It's not a problem. It's not illegal. They've identified no real problems. There's just not enough staff to have that layered oversight. But we've got this set up pretty well, and I'm very confident in our staff.
Right, and I would say that usually your biggest risk are checks. And as you probably all know, our check system is that Kim has a bill, she matches the bill with the invoice and pays that. She signs the check, but also our mayor and formerly Mr. Carr would sign them as mayor and look at every single check. So every check that is written by the city is written by one person, signed by another person, and then I reconcile the bank account and look at them all. And so we have really, I think, very good control over checks for being a small city.
Well, and the other control issue there is, frankly, as the mayor, you get to know who your contractors are very quickly. And if you see a name you don't know, well, there's going to be questions asked. 99% of these are the same names over and over and over and over again. So it's very difficult. We're so small that we really don't require that extra staff to have the level of security that we're providing at this point. So right. Sharon, yeah.
And big bills would also be reviewed and approved by our engineer or planner.
Road bills, yeah, and the other bills, right. And then they come through that regular process as well. So an extra layer there. So yeah, overall, I looked through it. It looks like we've got the same conditions that they've had in the past. Looks like we're following everything. Staff was very cooperative. They enjoy working with us. They seem to do a very, very good job both for us and other organizations in the area.
Right.
Very
they show up when they say. They work quickly. Their questions are relevant.
Yeah, they're good. Dang.
And anything in here, I've been reading these for years. Anything in here is the same suggestion they've made, and it's all due to the size of the city.
Right.
Exactly.
Everything else is spot on. Exactly. I would move to approve it. If you're prepared for that, Mr.
I am accepting motions to approve. If there are no other questions, well, actually, do I have a second? Tom Moore, second. Very good. I've got a second. Any other questions? All those in favor of approving the 2018 audit signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Our treasurer.
Yeah.
Our esteemed treasurer. Esteemed. Who would like to talk over B, the consider of resolution number 2019-13? I'm assuming it's our clerk who's going to talk to us about that.
Certainly can, Mayor and council members. Resolution number 2019 or 2019-13 is a joint powers agreement with Grant, the city attorney and the police department for the prosecutions. It's a kind of a standard housekeeping item. These are good for 5 years. It was time to update and reflect Johnson Turner, Dave Schneider as the prosecuting attorney.
Very good. Questions on this joint powers agreement? Tom.
Why in paragraph 1 does it say Lakeland Shores, or paragraph 2?
You have a revised resolution with the number and corrected city.
13, look at the 13.
Oh, you got the wrong one. I didn't throw that one away.
Got changed.
I stand corrected.
All right.
We put that in there, Tom, just to make sure you're reading.
See, I caught it.
Fool ya.
All right.
It didn't work. Darn.
Never mind.
Gold star.
Dave, do you have any opinion or anything you'd like to share on this joint powers agreement?
No, thank you, Mr.
Very good. Considering motions to approve resolution number 2019-13, please.
I'll so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. I don't see any unfinished business here tonight. Discussion items, no action taken, just as a reminder. Staff updates. Kim, do you have anything for us?
Mayor and council members, I have nothing tonight.
Very good. Mr. Restek, anything in addition to what we've already talked about?
Nothing from me, Mayor.
Okay, we have the treasurer out there, the esteemed treasurer. Do you have anything else?
No, I do not.
All right, thank you very much. And our city attorney will go to him one last time.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you very much. City council reports, future agenda items, no action taken tonight, obviously, gentlemen, but if you have an idea for something in the future, let's hear it. Tom?
Can I talk for about an hour about how Grant was formed, the history?
Boy, I'd love that, Tom, would you?
No, I don't want to. I changed my mind.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. When my heart returns to beating normally again, we'll proceed.
What, are the twins on?
Yeah. You had me going there for a second. I thought you might actually do that for a second. Jeff, Denny?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, the only thing I have, if you're looking for reports here, we touched on it at the beginning of the meeting. Our legislature has seen fit to dismiss themselves for their summer vacation without approving aid to small cities or LGA aid to us. So, again, I know you've heard this from me 1,000 times, but I'm going to say it again. We're just under 5,000 residents. Everyone in this city who fuels a car, fuels a tractor, fuels anything is paying gas taxes. It goes to every one of our neighbors, over 5,000 population. And now the legislature has seen fit to pull the small amount they were giving us, the very small amount they were giving us, in aid to small cities. So, you know, if anyone's inclined to write letters to legislators or governors, boy, this would be a great thing to write a letter on. I know that when they ask me and they poll me and I get that in my email occasionally, I let them know how I feel about those laws and rules that are keeping that gas tax money that we pay going to larger cities benefits. It's not fair. We should get our taxes back here. We have roads also. We drive on them. We purchase that fuel. We should get some of that back. So that is irritating. Tom first, please.
And just so, we're talking about the census coming up and getting to 5,000. It was on TV, and I can't remember if they lost their money, and so there's a guy who's going around, one guy, he's going around trying to get everybody to sign up for the census. So it's kind of funny, because we talked about that, making sure everybody gets out there and fills out the census and is counted. And this one, they lost all that money, and they're trying to get it back. And he's on a crusade. And it's kind of, I think it's the same thing we're doing. So I think we're close, I think. And hopefully we can make it.
And I'm just going to follow up on that. We are going to be on a crusade with all of our residents. You need to understand the rules for reporting who is living on the property, and that none of that comes to this group or anyone associated with the city. It is a federal government count. It has nothing to do with this other than if we got above that 5,000, as Tom said, we would be able to reap that money in, and our road worries, frankly, would be pretty much at an end with just some smart budgeting and road work every year. We'd be about done. It would be almost paradise for roads and grants. So Tom brings up a good point, and we need to be on that. We need to be on that really, really tight. We're going to keep talking about that, and Tom's going to kind of take that one and run with it. So, Denny, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, and not receiving the gas tax or the money for small cities, this is after an awful lot of fancy discussion and smoke and mirrors about how they were going to help all the small cities. Yeah. And as too many times happens, there's nothing at the end. I wonder, a suggestion maybe on this census thing, if we got a newsletter coming out before that, we send something out there that says, has questions and answers. Are there things asked for people's, are there concerns that people might have as to why they wouldn't put a mother-in-law apartment, whatever it is? I don't know. Just, is there something maybe we can dig up or pull out from that?
Those are great questions, Danny. We've explored those, and that was my point about saying, look, we don't get this information. No one here is going to see this information. It goes to the federal government. I don't care if you have 3 people living in your attic, as long as they're not tied up in your attic. I mean, you need to report these folks so that we can get to 5,000 if at all possible. And I'm pleading with you, do this, because we don't know about it. Now, to Denny's very good point, are we going to be reaching out in the last newsletter and last couple of newsletters to encourage people to do this? You bet we are. And I'll bet Tom's going to write something about it, and I bet I'm going to write something about it, and we're going to get that out there and have people more encouraged to get this done. So.
Sorry.
No, please, go ahead.
And in addition to putting something out, put something out there that asks, do you have questions? Please call us.
That's a good point.
Or, yeah, you have to
If you
be,
have a concern, let's answer the concern rather than assume we know what all the questions are.
Or be scared not to answer the
yeah,
exactly.
we're scared, yeah. Since it's a federal thing, I think we're probably better off sending them to the federal website. But that's something maybe for Dave in the future. Anything else, Jeff? You guys make great points. Thank you so much for that. Who would like to read our community calendar? I'm not even going to look up. Someone start reading.
Jeff loves this.
If I may. Matamita Public Schools Board meeting Thursday, June 13th and June 27th. Matamita District Education Center at 7 p.m. Stillwater Public Schools Board meeting Thursday, June 13th at Stillwater City Hall, 7 p.m. Washington County Commissioners meeting Tuesdays at Government Center, 9 a.m. July City Council meeting Thursday, June 27th, Town Hall, 7 p.m.
Very important. Thank you very much, Jeff. Yeah, our July meeting's Thursday, June 27th because of the holiday. So everyone, don't forget that. Get that on your calendar.
Correct.
It looks like we're going to entertain an adjournment.
Also move.
All right. So we have a second.
Nobody else can.
All those in favor of adjournment this evening, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. We're all done. And thanks, everyone.